All right, I'm here with Caleb Clark. He is a member of the Nebraska baseball team. He's a left-handed pitcher from Canada. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about Caleb's journey, how he came to the States, and how his freshman year went, and some of the stuff he learned, and then also what he's looking forward to most this year. So, Caleb, so where did your baseball journey begin, and when did you discover that love for the game?
Yeah, so actually my dad first put me into sports when I was young, about 4 years old. Started playing baseball. We skipped t-ball for some reason. We didn't go right into t-ball. We went straight into the pitching machine. And I just kind of fell in love with it. It was funny because our family was more of a football family for some reason. My dad played in university, so baseball for some reason he loved, and just decided that, hey, let's put Caleb into baseball, and continued to play it through the rest of my younger age and my younger days, and started playing basketball as well when I got to the third grade, and loved both of them. But I found I've loved baseball more during the training and all the hard work stuff. I just loved every bit of it. Practices, everything. Whereas basketball is I love playing the games, but practices and everything wasn't really my main focus. I liked it a lot, but not really loved. So I would say basically baseball became that kind of passion for me as I got past elementary school into high school, is when I really was okay, this is something I really, really love and passionate about. And since a young age, I always wanted to say my dream is to play in the MLB. But then once I started becoming a little bit older, it was this is something I want to work towards now, not just a dream. So I'd say it was probably when I was a little bit younger.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good deal. So kind of going along with that, talk to me about your recruiting process. Obviously, you're an international student athlete.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about your recruiting process, and then kind of give the viewers some tips on to the international viewers. What are some tips they can implement in their recruiting process to help them get noticed by colleges in the U.S.?
Yeah. The biggest thing was you need to find the right organization that's going to help you with the recruiting process. It's tougher being from Canada, even though we're super close to the United States. Just the access for scouts to come to Canada isn't super easy for them, and there's only a certain amount of people that will watch those games. You're only going to get the area scouts. You're really not going to get general managers flying up to Canada to come watch you, or head scouts or anything like that. So you have to find an organization that you're going to be able to travel with, not only just in baseball but other sports as well. You need to find places that will try and help you with that recruiting process, because it is really hard. I mean, you can email schools and all that, but they're not really going to come and watch you. They're not going to drive up to Canada and make an effort that way. There will be some schools that do it, but not often. So really the focus is making sure that you're with an organization you feel comfortable with and are giving you opportunities to get recruited. And I got lucky that way. Going through the recruiting process with my team back home. They were called the Great Lake Canadians. A lot of former coaches that played professional baseball, so they had a lot of contacts in that way, and then also in college as well. Our head coach from back home went to the University of Nebraska. One of them went to Illinois, and then one of them went to Eastern Michigan. So there are contacts all over the place that they have that's allowed them to make the players that they now coach can now get in contact with those coaches, even if those coaches aren't at those schools anymore. Coaches have moved on to other schools. You can get in contact with them and say, hey, I got a guy for you. So that was a big thing for me that I really loved about the organization I played for. And then I was lucky enough to play for Team Canada, which allowed, again, for more recruiting process. I think the organization I played for was great, but that next level for Team Canada is more of a national stage. Kind of allowed for maybe bigger name schools to see you on a stage now, where it's not just they're not coming to just Indiana or something like that. This is Team Canada versus Team USA. Scouts are going to be there to watch anyway, so you just kind of get your opportunities and try and take advantage of them. You don't get to come to the States every weekend just to play, because it's a lot of money. Yeah. So that was something that I really focused on. When you had those bigger events, it's this is your time to just go out and play the best you can and take advantage of those opportunities. And then mine got a little bit halted because of COVID, but normally it was just you just had to really take advantage of the opportunities when you came to the States, and just find an organization that will allow you to come to the United States.
Yeah. So talk to me about that Team Canada experience. I mean, you got to represent your country. Tell me about the places you might have went. the people you met on that team. Kind of just talk to me about that experience.
Yeah, well, my story could be a lot bigger, I wish, but due to COVID, it canceled a lot of our trips. I was supposed to go on basically about 8 to 10 trips with Team Canada.
Okay.
We were supposed to go to the Dominican. We were going to go to Florida twice. This is every year, so we go March, April, and May. We do 3 trips, and they kind of cut the team down a little bit, going towards either a World Championships qualifier or the World Championships. So the first year I made it was in my grade 11 year, and we would have been going to a World Championship qualifier, which would have been in, I believe, Mexico, I believe.
Okay.
So that would have been a really cool opportunity. So the first trip we went down there for a week in March, and on the game where we played, the Team Canada does a game where they play basically guys who are going to make the roster for the Toronto Blue Jays or are like right on the cusp of it.
Really?
So we played, that was a really cool opportunity. So we played like Rowdy Tellez, Jordan Romano, who's now the closer, had 30-something saves this year. And so it was a really cool experience to face off against those guys. I didn't get to pitch that game, but we got to see that. And at the end of that game, we got told that school got canceled for an extra 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
We're like, oh, nice, like 2 weeks, because we were on, at that point, we were on spring break. So we were like, oh, another 2-week-long spring break because they said this thing called COVID's happening.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, okay, like whatever.
Yeah.
So then we ended up going home that day and had a 14-day quarantine because of COVID, and then the world shut down, and that week was when everything got shut down worldwide. And so we ended up not going on our April or May trip where we were supposed to go to the Dominican, which would have been an unbelievable experience as well. And then we missed out on the entire World qualifiers, and then basically the next year we were kind of building towards the World Championships. Didn't know if we were going to do any of the trips, so we were just in contact with the coach, and coach kept telling us like, hey, like we don't think we're going to have the trips, but I think we're going to be able to come together in August before the World Championships, because they were planning on doing them, and then we'll get together in August, do like a 2-week training camp, then go play. I'm like, okay, this sounds good. About 2 weeks probably before we had our 2-week training camp, head coach called me and said they're canceling the World Championships because I believe Japan and Australia both ended up getting COVID cases, so they dropped out, and then other teams heard about it and started dropping out as well.
Dang.
So we ended up I thought this was over because I was like, I got a week of a trip to represent my country, which was still the greatest honor I had. It was unbelievable, so cool. But the coach said, hey, we're going to do a 2-week training camp still, and then we're going to go play the Team USA in a 7-game friendship series. So we're just going to play 7 games against them no matter what the outcome is, and just kind of get that recognition on the world stage. And so it was a really cool. We got to go down to Florida anyway. The World Championships were going to be in Florida anyway, so it was kind of like, we're not going somewhere like super cool. We're just going to Florida, but it would have been so cool. So we ended up playing 7 games against the U.S., which was Jackson Holiday, Drew Jones, Elijah Green, Tamar Johnson. Oh yeah, all basically every top 5 pick that was that year. So it was a really cool, exciting opportunity. We hadn't played competitive baseball for over a year, and all of a sudden we're going to play the U.S.
Wow.
And it was pretty eye-opening. Like it was awesome to just compete against those guys, and I was able to start one of the games as well, which was really cool. And then just continued going on, and then the context that we have with Team Canada is awesome too. So the next year, even though I was an overager, I couldn't play for them, I was able to go down in April and play just as like an overager with them for about the week of their training camp that they had, because our coach allowed it. So it was a really cool opportunity, and I'm super thankful for it as well.
Good deal.
Yeah.
That's a great story. So kind of moving away from baseball, what are some things you like to do outside of baseball? What are some hobbies you have? What are some Canadian pastimes you might still do with your family, or kind of explain that to me?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I really just love spending time with like family and friends. I'm not like a huge I love to go out or anything like that. I do love like the adrenaline stuff. I know you and we talked about this with our pitching staff, but I do love to go like cliff jumping and go like on roller coasters and kind of feel that adrenaline rush. But I'm not like huge let's go out all the time. I like to just stay at home, kind of hang out with family. We love to play card games back home. We love to play board games, like anything like that, just having fun with our family. And then my friends as well, we do the same kind of stuff. Like when we hang out, it's just a really good, fun conversations, anything like that. Just kind of chill. But I also do love to read too. I've been big into books since I was younger, and I think that's because my dad, he loves to read. Like, he reads all these athlete stories, and then he'll have those conversations like, hey, did you hear about when Mickey Mantle, and he'll have all these stories of all this knowledge in his head from these random athletes, and I got into that when I was younger and continued getting going forward with it.
Yeah.
So
what's your favorite book?
I gotta say, I think the autobiography of R.A. Dickey was one that's always really stuck out with me, only because I was younger and I was learning through my faith what I was really about, just growing up in a very religious household, and his story was really inspiring for me. And it was like, wow. And he was also just got traded to the Blue Jays at that time. Yeah, because he was. So he was the book was when he was with the Mets and he had just won the Cy Young, but then he got traded to the Blue Jays, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, this is a guy that I'm watching now, and it was just learning his story through his faith, and that's always the story that's really stuck with me. And so it's probably one. And
he's a guy. Correct me if I'm wrong. That kind of had to reinvent himself a little bit, because he was a guy who threw really hard in college, and then he transitioned to a knuckleballer.
Absolutely.
And for our viewers, there's not a lot of knuckleballers in the MLB right now, but he was one of them. And so he kind of had to reinvent himself.
And winning a Cy Young, which is the best pitcher in the MLB that year for the National League, he won a Cy Young just as a knuckleballer, which was still really impressive. So, that was a story that definitely has always stuck with me. And so just reading those kind of stories about like learning through people's experiences, what they've gone through, and then kind of applying it to your own life that way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good deal. So now, tell me a little bit about your pitching repertoire and kind of like how you like to attack hitters.
Yep.
And then also going off of that, kind of what your experience was like as a freshman coming to a Power 5 baseball program.
Yeah. Just being a left-handed pitcher, it's a little bit of a funkier little 3/4 arm slot, so I know I have that advantage of like not a lot of hitters seeing that kind of arm slot, especially from the left-handed side. So I like to take advantage of that. I know really just mixing the fastball inside and outside against hitters is a really big thing that I try and use in my repertoire for sure. My changeup has become maybe my favorite pitch to throw now. I really it used to be my favorite. Then I really struggled finding the grip again. It's such a touch and feel pitch.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have it, you have it, and then if you don't, you don't sometimes. So I battled that a while, and then once I got it back this past year, I really focused on it in the summer ball and making sure that I knew how to use it properly. And just sometimes you have to pitch backwards, especially when if you don't throw like 95, you gotta time these hitters off a little bit differently, especially at the college level. I mean, they're so good. Like you face guys who you make a really good pitch, they still might hit it. Yeah. So it's just
we saw that a little bit during our red and white series.
Exactly right. So learning just sometimes you gotta just outthink the hitter sometimes, or make them overthink what you're gonna throw, and that's when you've won. And so I think it was just learning that, especially coming into college. I know you mentioned as a freshman it was really, really cool. I mean, everything was so fast for the first couple of weeks, trying to learn all the signs as pitching staff. Combine that with school, with academics, and we had study hall hours, and then we had meeting after meeting after meeting. And it was just a lot at the beginning, and then once you kind of got into your routine, and that was a big thing that I had to focus on, was just making sure to take it one day at a time. And once I did that, everything kind of slowed down a little bit, and then baseball became a little bit easier because you weren't stressing about other things in life. So then once baseball kind of got going and picked up in the fall, and we started scrimmaging, and I had so much fun. I mean, our team was really close last year. I mean, every guy you just wanted to fight for in your corner and just be there for them. And then we were also really competitive too. I mean, we had some guys, like, we went at it. Like, you yelled at the dugout the one time, and that was when it happened. Like, everybody started, because everyone was so close as a team that it was like, oh, no one really wants to say anything. Yeah. Once one guy chirped one guy, it was on, and that was like, we were still like able to be really close as family, but when we're on the field, it's like, okay, we're against each other.
We're competitors.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a really fun experience, especially in the fall, and then going into the season, struggled throughout the season, which was really tough, and trying to find myself again that way, which was hard, especially when you don't have a lot of struggles as you grow up in baseball. Pitching in Canada didn't have a lot of like adversity that way. There were some, but you can deal with it pretty easily, and then you get to the college level and you're facing guys that are 3-4 years older than you that are grown men. Like sometimes you face a couple guys older than you when you're 14, but they're not grown men yet, and they're not really that strength yet. And then all of a sudden you're facing a 24-year-old who's been playing college baseball for 5 years. They've seen everything, so it's you got to try and remember that, hey, there's going to be good hitters. They're going to get base hits off you. It's not the end of the world. And if a run scores, it's okay. Like, just you got to move on to the next pitch and not let it affect you. So that was the biggest thing that I had to learn from my freshman year, but I still had so much fun playing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So kind of looking into the future, what are your goals for this upcoming season, and kind of, what are you looking forward to most this season?
I mean, I want us to go to Omaha and go to the College World Series. I think that's the biggest thing that we really want to do as a team. I thought we had the right pieces to do it last year. We just missed out on a couple games we probably should have won, and just taking that over to this year, and now it's like, okay, take advantage of the games where we are better than a team, and we know we are, and let's prove it and win that game like we did in the fall, like 22-2 or 18 runs. Like, let's just go and score as many as possible and shut them down in the pitching staff. And I think if we do that, I mean, we have a really good chance. I mean, we want to host a regional. I know that, and we want to be one of the tougher teams in the country, if not the toughest. And so, if stuff doesn't go your way, so what? You got to move on and move on to the next pitch. If you're a hitter or if you're a pitcher as well, if you don't get that call, move on to the next one and just keep going. I think we have the makings to do that, and so I'm really excited to see us. We want to win a Big Ten championship too. I know we came fourth last year, but I feel like, again, we were this close each time. Maryland was a tough one. Both games lost by 1 run and had a chance to win it, and so I think we have those abilities to be that team that can win these championships, and I want us all to do that.
Yeah,
and get that at the next level.
Definitely, 100%. Well, Caleb, it was great talking to you. You offered some great insight into being an international student athlete, kind of what to expect coming in as a freshman into a big Power 5 baseball program, and so we really appreciate your time, and it was great talking to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks, sir.